They said innovation only lives in Silicon Valley. They said high-tech breakthroughs require billions in funding, teams of engineers, and access to world-class labs. But in the heart of Africa, a single man, armed with nothing but curiosity, faith, and raw genius, proved the world wrong. From a dusty backyard in Zimbabwe, he created something unthinkable, a machine that defies mainstream science, an invention that stunned engineers across continents. This is not science fiction. This is a true story of Maxwell Chikumbutso, the self-taught inventor whose groundbreaking technology may forever change how we power our lives. Maxwell Chikumbutso was born in Zimbabwe into a world where resources were limited, but imagination was not. With no formal engineering degree and no access to cutting-edge tools, he taught himself electronics from discarded radios and broken televisions. His earliest experiments were powered by hope, hunger, and a relentless drive to solve real problems, especially Africa's ongoing energy crisis. Where others saw poverty, Maxwell saw potential. He believed that true innovation doesn't come from privilege, it comes from purpose. In his small workshop, Maxwell developed something many scientists still struggle to explain: a self-powered generator. No fuel, no solar panels, no external charging, just pure, continuous energy, pulled seemingly from the air. His creation, called a green power machine, could power a home or even an electric car without ever plugging into the grid. Engineers from around the world were skeptical until they saw it with their own eyes. Even U.S. tech experts and military contractors reportedly invited him for demonstrations, unable to deny what they were witnessing. But true genius is often met with disbelief and resistance. Maxwell's invention didn't just challenge the laws of physics, it challenged billion-dollar energy industries. Imagine a world where power is free, where villages never go dark, where nations no longer depend on fossil fuels. That's the world Maxwell envisioned, and the world his machine could help build. But with great disruption comes great opposition. And Maxwell's journey has been far from easy. Legal threats, financial hurdles, mysterious shutdowns. Maxwell's story isn't just about an invention. It's about liberation. It's about challenging a global system that tells people from underdeveloped nations that they don't belong at the table of innovation. It's about reminding us that talent, brilliance, and genius are not confined to elite universities or billion-dollar companies. They live in every village, every city, every overlooked corner of the world. So the next time someone tells you innovation only comes from the West, remember a man in a Zimbabwean backyard who lit up more than just his home. He lit up the world's imagination, and he's not done yet. If this story inspired you, share it. If you believe innovation knows no borders, hit that like button. And if you want more powerful stories about game-changing African minds, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. As the world races toward electrification, climate solutions, and energy independence, one African inventor quietly continues building what could be the key to the future. Maxwell Chikumbutso isn't chasing headlines. He's not basking in the spotlight. He's chasing something bigger: impact. His dream is simple, yet revolutionary: that every household in Africa, from bustling cities to remote villages, should have access to free, clean, and limitless power. His invention could eliminate power cuts. It could electrify schools, clinics, and businesses in regions long abandoned by utility companies. It's not just about technology. It's about equity. It's about dignity. But innovation, this disruptive, doesn't move freely. Maxwell has faced overwhelming pressure, attempts to silence him, buy him out, or bury his work. He's been labeled a fraud by skeptics, yet celebrated as a prophet by believers. Why? Because what he's offering challenges a global system that profits from scarcity. A world where energy is abundant, free, and local threaten some of the most powerful interests on the planet. And so the question isn't just, did he invent it? The question is, will the world allow it to thrive? Whether or not Maxwell's invention becomes mainstream, one thing is undeniable. He has already ignited a spark. Across the continent, young minds are waking up to possibility. Kids tinkering with electronics under candlelight. Teenagers building solar panels from scrap. Innovators refusing to wait for permission. Maxwell Chikumbutso showed them that greatness can grow from the ground beneath their feet. That brilliance doesn't ask for approval. It builds. This is not the end of Maxwell's story. It's barely the beginning. Governments may turn a blind eye. Corporations may try to erase him, but the truth has a way of shining through. And one day, when the world looks back at how the energy revolution began, it may trace its roots not to a lab in California, but to a backyard in Zimbabwe. A backyard where one man dared to imagine a future powered not by oil, but by ideas. News of Maxwell's invention didn't just echo through tech blogs and African media. It whispered its way into elite institutions, top secret labs, and boardrooms that had never once considered Africa the source of true technological disruption. Some dismissed it outright. Others watched, quietly, behind closed doors. Whispers turned to questions. How did he do it? Is it replicable? Can this be contained? But what they didn't realize is this. Ideas like Maxwell's don't stay locked in garages and backyards forever. Once born, they multiply. His breakthrough planted seeds of intellectual rebellion, a new generation of African inventors unwilling to wait for validation from the West. Today, across the continent, others are rising. Solar hackers in Nigeria, wind turbine builders in Kenya, battery pioneers in Ghana, all pushing past the limits that once caged their ambitions. Maxwell may have been the first to challenge the gatekeepers so publicly, but he will not be the last. His story became a symbol, a rallying cry, proof that genius born in overlooked places can not only compete, but lead. He didn't just invent a machine. He invented a mindset, one that says, we are not waiting to be saved. We are the solution. Imagine a continent electrified by its own ingenuity, where energy flows not just from dams and grids, but from imagination. Maxwell's backyard generator may still be shrouded in controversy, but its message is crystal clear. Africa doesn't need to play catch-up. It can lead the charge. And maybe, just maybe, the next global superpower isn't one with the most oil fields, but the one with the most minds set free. While the world speculated, Maxwell worked. Day after day, often alone, often without funding, without fanfare. He returned to his workshop. What many don't see is the grind behind the genius. The parts that break, the systems that fail, the walls that crack, the doubts that creep in. He's been evicted, sabotaged, shut out. Once, he even claimed his inventions had drawn attention from powerful intelligence agencies, not with congratulations, but with threats. Whether or not those claims can be proven, one thing is certain. The closer he came to disrupting the global energy status quo, the more isolated he became. But even as doors close, his vision burned brighter. The debate around Maxwell's technology continues. Critics argue that his self-powered generator violates the laws of thermodynamics, claiming it's simply not possible. But what if, just what if, the rules we build our understanding on aren't the final rules? Every generation, someone appears who forces the scientific world to rewrite what it thought was true. Galileo, Tesla, Carver. What if this backyard genius is another name for that list? After all, history doesn't remember the comfortable. It remembers the challengers. Today, whispers continue about Maxwell's ongoing prototypes. He claims to have built an electric car that never needs charging, a drone powered by atmospheric energy, a home generator that could run indefinitely, off-grid. These technologies, if real, don't just change Africa. They redefine energy for the entire planet, for rural schools, emergency hospitals, disaster zones, developing nations, for all the places the grid forgot. They would make electricity not a privilege, but a human right. The story is still unfolding. Maybe in the next few months, Maxwell will unveil a commercial prototype to the public. Maybe a documentary will show the device in action, tested by independent scientists. Or maybe his invention will vanish, buried under patents, bought out, never to see the light of day. But even if that happens, something has already shifted. Africa is no longer waiting for permission to innovate. Its people are no longer silent dreamers. They are inventors, disruptors, creators of the future. Even if the machine never reaches mass production, even if his name is forgotten by mainstream media. Maxwell Chikumbutso has already done something world-changing, because somewhere right now, a young boy in Cameroon is building his first battery out of scrap metal. A girl in Uganda is drawing circuit diagrams by candlelight. A student in rural Malawi is rewiring an old phone into a solar-powered radio, not because they read it in a textbook, but because they heard about the man in Zimbabwe who made electricity from nothing. A man like them, from a place like theirs, in a backyard not unlike their own. The real invention Maxwell gave the world may not be mechanical at all. It may be the invisible current he awakened in the minds of millions, the belief that they can build, that the impossible could be challenged, that the world's problems don't always require foreign aid, satellites, or billion-dollar startups. Sometimes they require one stubborn mind, a rusty toolbox, and the audacity to try. He may never win a Nobel Prize. His name may never be etched on the side of a global tech campus. But in the villages where kids now dare to imagine their own inventions, Maxwell's legacy is already carved into the future. So where does this story end? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it shouldn't. Because as long as there are minds still shackled by doubt, as long as the world remains unequal in energy, education, and opportunity, this story must keep being told. Not just to celebrate a genius, but to unlock the next one. What began in a Zimbabwean backyard is now part of a greater wave pulsing across Africa. A silent uprising, not of weapons, but of ideas. Not of protests, but of prototypes. From Kenya's slums to Senegal's coastlines, from the tech hubs of Lagos to the rural villages of Lesotho, young inventors are building wind turbines out of bicycle parts, designing water purifiers from plastic waste, creating coding schools in shipping containers. And they're not asking the world for permission. They're not waiting to be discovered. They're creating anyway, because someone somewhere like Maxwell showed them it could be done. And yet, ask yourself this. Why aren't these stories on the front pages of international news? Why do we hear more about chaos and corruption than creativity and courage? The truth is, genius often grows in silence. And unless we amplify it, unless we choose to listen, it can disappear before the world ever notices. Maxwell's invention may be buried by those who couldn't explain it or feared what it would mean for their industries. But his story, his spirit, that lives on in every child picking up a screwdriver instead of a gun, in every teen coding their first app with a cracked screen and a dream, the real future of energy, of innovation, of human progress, might not be hiding in the next Silicon Valley skyscraper. It might be humming quietly inside a hand-built generator beneath a mango tree. Maxwell is not alone. In the heart of Nigeria, a teenage boy once turned urine into electricity, powering lights with a fuel no one ever thought possible. In Malawi, a 14-year-old built a windmill from scrap metal and powered his entire village because he wanted to read at night. In Ghana, engineers are recycling e-waste into tools for robotics and AI. These aren't science fiction tales. These are real lives, real people, real African genius. But how many of them will we never hear about? How many inventions will never leave the backyard, the hut, the shack, the shipping container? Because the world never looked in their direction? What keeps these minds from rising? It's not lack of talent. It's not lack of ideas. It's the walls we've built, the patents that protect profit, not progress, the systems that serve capital, not creativity, the media that shows suffering, but not solution. Maxwell's story threatens those systems because it proves innovation doesn't need to be imported. It can be grown locally, authentically, brilliantly. And now the door is cracked open, not wide, not yet, but open enough for others to see what's possible. Open enough for a young girl in Ethiopia to believe she can redesign water purification systems. Open enough for a student in Congo to believe his kinetic bike generator could power streetlights. Open enough for a global audience to pause and reconsider everything they thought they knew about African capability. This is no longer about one man's machine. This is about a continent awakening. And once it's fully awake, there will be no turning back. In the end, Maxwell Chikumbutso didn't just build a generator. He built a question. A question that now lingers in the minds of scientists, leaders, and dreamers around the globe. What if the greatest innovations of our time are being built in silence, ignored simply because of where they come from? His journey reminds us of a powerful truth. That genius is geography blind. That vision isn't reserved for the elite. And that sometimes the most world-changing ideas aren't born in labs or boardrooms, but in backyards, in the quiet, in the shadows. The world may not be ready for you, but build it anyway, because one day when the lights go out, it might just be your invention that turns them back on.